Hello and welcome to the Young Film Academy podcast, the essential podcast for teenagers looking to find their way into the creative industries. My name is Dan Allen. I'm joined by Ellen Thomas. How's it going, Ellen?
Hi, Dan. Yeah, I'm very excited for today's episode to talk all things writing, TV writing specifically.
Oh, yeah, no, very exciting. I am very excited. Who are we speaking to today, Ellen?
So our guest today is Lauren Sequeira, who we actually met through doing the Set the Stage program with BAFTA. She was one of the screenwriting mentors, and she has worked on some really amazing stuff and has had such a interesting path in the industry. So she is a writer for TV. She's worked on some amazing shows like Gangs of London, Kiss Me First, and The Wanted Man, writing episodes for those shows. And she's also the creator and showrunner of her own series, Domino Day, which is on BBC Three and came out in 2024, which we're going to speak to her all about that. And yeah, she's been a part of some BBC schemes and some BAFTA schemes. So yeah, we're going to talk to her all about those.
Amazing. So without any further ado, welcome to the podcast, Lauren. How's it going?
It's going good. I'm very well, thank you. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we're very excited to have you. Obviously, we were just saying before we started recording that we haven't really had many people from the world of TV specifically, which is super cool and super exciting. So I have a million questions, which is very cool, and I'm sure Ellen has loads as well. But I wondered if you could start off by telling us about sort of your journey into TV. Was TV always the thing that sort of spoke to you the most, or did you think maybe you'd do film? Yeah, how did you end up where you are?
Yeah, I thought I would do film first, to be honest, and I wanted to be a director. So when I went to uni, I did a BA at Goldsmiths, which was kind of a practical but also theory kind of course, and they got you to try all of the practical subjects before you specialize, and I went thinking I would do directing, but then there was script writing, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize this was a whole career path in film. So I pivoted and started with like a few short films. One was made by the film students at the uni, and then when I graduated, I went back and did an MA just in screenwriting, and that was like 2 years part-time, and it was a really good time to just hone the craft and learn adaptation, and TV units. So yeah, and then when I graduated from that, I was stuck in a student job for a few years, nice. Writing scripts and trying to send them out. And then it just so happened a spec script of mine sort of passed the desk of this known writer here called Brian Elsley, who made Skins. And he was looking for writers for a new show that was with Channel 4 and Netflix. It was called Kiss Me First. It was a really cool premise with like VR gaming and young adults, and it was a thriller. So that was my first credit, basically.
Amazing.
And that was 10 years ago.
Wow. So what were you brought in to do? Was it to write a specific episode of Kiss Me First?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So how does that work? Like, because obviously TV is known for being incredibly collaborative often. I mean, you normally have there's a structure, right? There's a showrunner, which is very often it's the lead writer in TV. It's like, I've heard that TV is described often as like the writer's medium, whereas like film can be often considered the director's medium. What is the sort of structure, and then how does what you did on that show sort of fit into that structure?
Yeah, so it always starts with the lead writer coming up with an idea, and they'll go to a channel, they'll talk about the idea, and if the channel likes it, they will pay them to write the pilot. So they will write that pilot with their script team, sort of in a sort of silo, and then once that's ready, they will then bring writers into a room. They will then get writers into a room. So you often start with a writer's room. So all the writers that are hired to write an episode will all be in the room together, and you'll have like whiteboards around you. You'll have the first episode normally. Yeah. Sometimes I've done rooms where we've not had an episode at all. So we're really starting from the ground up. And yeah, you work out who the characters are, what their story is. You start very big, and then you go into specific episodes. And then by the end of the room, every writer has their episode, and they go off and they outline first, which is really useful. It's like writing the story in prose form. You just work out all the plot holes, make sure it's working, and then you write the script.
I see. So it's writing like a few pages, rather than write, 60 pages for a 60-minute, you're writing, is it for an outline?
Like 10 pages.
10 pages? Okay.
Yeah, about 10 pages.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I overwrite. I can do a bit. I'm thinking about scenes already when I get to outline, so I can be quite detailed.
Gotcha.
It's about 10 pages.
So when you're in the writer's room, you're all working out together kind of the main plot points and like what's going to happen in the series, and then you'll each be given an episode. And how is that? Yeah. How do you work out who gets what episode and all of those things?
Yeah, it's a Hunger Games. I think it's the lead writer. I think the lead writer will decide, and it depends on the sorts of ideas that people offered. Maybe some big ideas from one writer lands in an episode 3, so it would naturally make sense they get that episode, sort of thing. Sometimes it's just random. There's not really a science to it, but the lead writer will often, not always the case, but they will often do like the first episodes and the last. Yeah.
And do you having kind of the rough structure worked out, and then you go away and you write it and you sort of add your ideas to it? Do you find that quite like comforting already having that there?
Yeah, it's a good framework, I would say. But oftentimes, what you do in the room, you don't stick to. So when you get to outline stage, you're like, that's great, but it doesn't quite work. And sometimes you'll get back into the room. You might do a few drafts of an outline before you write the script. So it's a safe space to work everything out in detail, if that makes sense.
Kiss Me First, was that your first writer's room? Were you in the writer's room first?
It was,
How was that
and
that must have been so scary.
It was because I didn't have an agent at the time, so I got the job before the agent. So I was in the process of meeting agents, and we would just go into the room every day for a good few weeks, and it's a little bit of imposter syndrome. You're like, oh, am I meant to be here? But you sort of slowly build your confidence, and because of that show, there was like animation involved when it came to the VR gaming. So we would have like an animator come in and sort of talk to us and show us VR equipment and stuff. So that was like a really unique room, I would say.
Yeah.
Went on for quite a while. Like for UK standards, normally it's 2 weeks in a room.
Develop a whole show.
Yeah, wow, that is not enough time.
That feels too short. Like I don't know if I had a time in my head, but it probably would have been way longer than that.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it's definitely too short. But for my show, I know we'll talk about my show at some point, but I actually pushed for 6 weeks. I was like, we need times. It's a genre show as well. So we actually did a 6-week room, and we still changed stuff.
Yeah.
Once we got to outline.
Yeah. Is there the exact number of writers as there is episodes, or do you also have writers in a writer's room generally that are just there to help contribute to the overall writing and are never going to take an episode? Or
you do, you do that. For Domino Day, actually, we had a writer that she had written a lot of theatre, but she hadn't had any TV experience. So I liked to kind of give a writer's room experience to a sort of up-and-coming writer, but she didn't get an episode.
Yeah.
But you get paid for the room.
Sure,
like, there's a fee per day, and
I see it. So what was the journey like from that first show, from writing it? And I want to get to your show ASAP, so we sort of spend as much time talking about it as possible. But I'm also so interested in that journey of sort of, writing your first script. So maybe we'll sort of come back to that in a way. What was it like? You've now written a TV show. You've been in a writer's room. What was the journey like to getting your own TV show? Was it a natural process? Did it feel like fighting all over again in a way? Like what were the sort of the steps to getting your own show?
Yeah, it's experience. It's, so writing on Kiss Me First as a first credit. I then had a first credit that I could use to enter some schemes, and the BBC were doing, they call it the pilot scheme now. It used to be called something else when I did it, but you needed a credit to even get on that scheme. And it was a scheme where you were paired up with a production company. You came up with an idea that had to be for a BBC channel. And you developed it. You were paid to write a pilot and a sort of treatment for the series. So I did that, and the series that I came up with very nearly got greenlit. It was sort of backed by a lot of people at the BBC at the time, but there was one no. And it was devastating at the time. But yeah, that meant that it didn't get fully greenlit. And I think working on other writer shows, I worked on a show called Gangs of London for a couple of seasons, and that became quite a big hit. So I think that helped get my name out there a bit more with commissioners. So that was happening at the same time as this script commission that didn't get the green light. And I think because of that, the BBC saw potential in me as a writer, and then I was developing Domino Day at the same time. That eventually got greenlit 6 months later. So
So you were working on Domino Day in the background as well. Why was Domino Day not the one you developed with as part of the scheme, or was it just not ready at the time at the start of the scheme?
I did that through, so I did a writer in residency with the production company. They're called Dancing Ledge. So that was happening at the same time. So it was separate to the BBC scheme, but we went to the BBC with the idea, we pitched it, they liked the sound of it, so they gave me money to write the pilot, basically.
Amazing.
Can you explain what you mean by writer in residency? Because that's new.
It's a new thing. It's sort of like what theatres do. So a production company will take a writer in for 6 months, and you can just sit in their office. You can learn about the industry through a development side, and normally at the end of it, the idea is that you come up with an idea together that you then sort of pitch out together, and they give you some money as well, like a bursary.
And is that did you get that opportunity from your Kiss Me First credit, or how did you find that opportunity?
Yeah, I think that probably helped. But the production company, they do a call out every year to agents. So I had my agent at this point, and then you sort of submit work and you go in for a meeting and take it from there.
So did you get an agent quite sort of quickly when you sort of started writing after your masters?
Yes. Well, not after my masters. It was 5 years before I got before I got the credit for Kiss Me First. And I was approaching agents constantly, and they would read a script and be like, we like it, but can you send us the next thing you write, because I'm still a risk to them. I haven't got anything behind my name. So once I got Kiss Me First, of course every agent I spoke to, we'll sign you up, because they're getting a commission. So I took my time finding one that I could tell she really liked me and my voice as well. And I'm still with her to this day. We've been together 10 years now. So,
Amazing.
That's so cool. So with Domino Day in motion, so you did Gangs of London.
Yes.
Before Domino Day. So how do you, obviously, did you come in on series 2 of Gangs of London, or was it
series 1?
Series 1. Okay, gotcha. So that's both Kiss Me First and Gangs of London that you came in on the first series of, where the show, I always find those sort of things are still finding their voice in a way as a TV show. And I wonder, how do you respond? Obviously you mentioned the showrunner often is the one writing the first and the last episode, so the sort of the bookends that maybe can help tie it together. But I always imagine it's much easier on a series 2 when you can see what the voice of the characters are in a way. But if everyone's writing at the same time, what is that process like to steer something that feels cohesive? Which I imagine, is that the experience you had trying to do that as the lead writer on Domino Day, or did you write every episode of Domino Day?
So I got 2 writers on for Domino Day, but as a showrunner, there will be some, as you say, like you need to make it cohesive. So the showrunner will like overwrite a little bit on the other episodes. If there's major overwriting done, then sometimes you then have to have a co-writing credit.
Sure.
But with Domino Day, it was plain sailing. And I think like in the room, it's the showrunner's job to establish everything that's in their head. Like, this is what I want. This is the tone. That's why it's so helpful to have a pilot script when you go into a room, because that writer has really set it. It's harder when there's not been a script, to be honest. I've done rooms where you might have some research that you've been given. It might be based on a book, but you still need that lead writer to really set their vision in that room. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hadn't thought, because obviously it's generally the pilot that gets the commission. That means there's a room. So there is some kind of template. There is some kind of Bible in a way that you can draw from, just to understand sort of the characters and the tone. That makes sense, because I was thinking otherwise it's so stressful to like try and imagine what these characters are all going to sound like, and you want it to be correct and appropriate and stuff.
And you also said you go, when you have your first writer's room, you go back and you have more writer's room, and you have your episode script by that point.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of, are you comparing and contrasting like tone and voice, or does the showrunner also want that writer for the episode, their voice to come through, so there's sort of continuity and like a cohesive voice for the show, but also these different episodes have the voice of the writer they want on the show?
I think that's a showrunner preference, I would say. Like on Domino Day, I was very open to the writer's voice coming through a little bit, like in certain parts. But ultimately, the notes will come from the channel. They're sort of banking on that lead writer and their voice. That's why they greenlit it. So if they feel like that voice isn't coming through, it will be in their notes.
Yeah. I was thinking that sort of, having unique voices maybe lends itself to something more episodic in a way. I was thinking like Doctor Who strikes me as the sort of show where you might have some quite strong voices coming through, because each episode is so different. You might get like a romance episode, or you might then get like a sci-fi or a thriller, or even like a horror episode, where you sort of have that flexibility. Whereas a lot of shows these days are sort of one long movie versus episodic. Could you speak a little bit about that, actually, sort of, and your approach to TV? Because I think you do have those serial shows. Like back in the day, all I used to see on TV was it was a lot of crime. Each week was a new mystery type show. There's almost 20 episodes or more per series. Whereas now it feels that most TV is 10 episodes or less, and it's all just one big story. Do you know if the approach has changed, or like,
probably budgetary.
Okay, interesting.
like 24 episode series are just harder now to sort of get away. And I think there's so much choice now as well. There's so many streamers, so many channels, that before, when, Lost had 24 episodes back in the day, but everyone was tuning in. So now I think it's more of a risk. But in the UK, we have even less than that. We have 6 normally, maybe 8. But America tend to do 8 or 10. Yeah.
So
and in terms
writer,
of the sorry, you go, Adam.
I was just going to say, as the writer, it's kind of your job to work out what the showrunner wants.
If I have a script, like a pilot script, I'm really soaking in that script before a room. I'm working, like, even how they write their scene directions. I think that's like the best way to sort of emulate a writer's voice. And just do as much research if there are references. For Domino Day, because I'd done quite a few rooms beforehand, some were really like collaborative and supportive. Some were a little bit tense.
Okay.
So I learned what worked and what didn't. So with Domino Day, I knew I wanted to give people time to read and watch stuff, because sometimes you get a request to be in a room on a Friday and it starts on Monday. So
Yeah.
you've only got that weekend to soak everything in and come up with ideas. It's a lot of pressure.
Has that become like an expert on the show? Like on what is you're about to...
Yeah. So
okay, guys, weekend plans are cancelled. I've got to watch every episode of this entire show that's ever been made.
That's happened before, yeah, definitely. I wanted to give people time to read stuff. I think I had references as well. Any kind of witchy show, watch it, you know.
Yeah.
And I had a really detailed, I called it a writer's room document. I broke down, because it was 6 weeks, I broke down what I wanted to do each week as well. Like first week, we're just talking broadly about the themes and maybe the main character. By the second week, I really want to look deeper into the members of the coven. And then as we go further into the room, then we're going into specific episodes. And it wasn't, you know, militant, like, oh, we're running behind or anything. But it was a nice framework to help us stay on target.
I love we've kind of like tried to like resist going into Domino Day too early, but I think we're here. So,
I think we're here.
Yeah, I think we're here. Do you want to just give a little summary of what the show is about?
Yes.
For our listeners.
So Domino Day is about a witch who, she doesn't know what kind of witch she is. All she knows is she needs to drain the energy out of people to sort of fuel her magic, but also stop her from falling apart. So she's out there on the dating scene, going out on these dates to get her energy, but she comes across a coven of witches who see her as a threat. And it's like her relationship with them and how she starts to find out who she is and almost own her power as well, and how to find a sort of a path where she doesn't feel like a monster because she believes she is. And also, you know, forces around her that sort of want to use that power as well. So, yeah.
Where did the idea come from? What was sort of the origin of this idea?
So I love supernatural stories. She was originally a vampire because I love a good vampire show. But the BBC actually they had too many vampire projects in development. I think Dracula had just come out.
Sure.
Yeah, there was a TV series. So they were like, could she be a witch? And I was like, absolutely. So we changed her as a monster. And yeah, I sort of started with the first 10 pages, like is a sequence. And I sort of started with that. I could really see it. It's like a woman on a date. The date seems to be a bit dangerous. Like the person she's dating is not a very nice person. And the audience will hopefully be feeling like, why are you entertaining him? Why are you going back to his flat? All of that. And then I sort of pull the rug out from the audience. You think she was in danger, but no, he's in danger sort of thing. So I started with that setup and then sort of built the world around that, because I often think about how I come into a series, like how you grab that audience's attention. And so wrote the pilot, probably spent a year developing that, and then got the green light. And then it was another year or two with writers' rooms working out the story. And then we prepped and shot it in 2023. Yeah.
Wow. And it came out 2024, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
How was it going from like writing episodes for other people's shows or just sort of guest writing to like creating a whole world? And obviously because it's a genre supernatural show, you have a lot of work to do, like, and it going from sort of from one thing to another. How was that?
Very exhausting. Yeah, I mean, it's a very big leap. You know, I'm the one that's making the decisions suddenly. And, you know, having a good team around you, and this is so important in TV, a development team. You have a script editor, you have a story producer as well, often. You'll have many exec producers. When you're in production, you'll have actual producers. There's so many people that sort of help make a show, and they're so needed as well. So that it helps the whole process of like, you know, keeping focus. What do I need to do by this date? That person is in charge of that. They'll sort of let me know, you know. So it's very collaborative TV. Very collaborative.
So what are all those elements that you have to get together? You mentioned, I think earlier, like a pitch deck or obviously a pilot, a pitch deck. What other things do you need in place to get a green light or to get the show moving?
It's often just a pilot and pitch deck, but sometimes it depends on the channel.
Okay.
Sometimes they might want things more packaged, whether you've sort of got an idea about the cast and stuff before they green light, because they want to know there are actors that will draw in an audience. So yeah, you can get a bit of that quite recently. But yeah, often it's just a pilot and a pitch deck. The pitch decks, they didn't used to be decks. They would just be a written document, but we're now becoming more visual, which I like.
Yeah.
I think, it just helps set the tone and the feel of the show as well. And some production companies will hire a graphic designer to do that as well.
Wow, yeah.
I've definitely had a graphic designer do a couple of pitch decks for me in the past. And it's a really cool part of the process, I feel. And then you're sending it out to people.
Did you have a more visual pitch deck for Domino Day?
I did it myself, actually. I think I used Pages on the good old MacBook, and I sort of found images and stuff. But so we did it in-house. But on other shows or for other projects, a graphic designer has joined and taken over.
Yeah. I feel like I have to do quite a lot of like pitch decks and sort of putting images together. I just use Keynote, so also part of like, just the Apple thingy. Because on Pages I keep getting like, it was like it'll jump to the next page, or like I can't control my image. I can't control my images enough, and it's just a nightmare sometimes. But it is really good fun. I think it's like a great way to like communicate how you see the show just so clearly as well. And there's do you use ShotDeck, the website at all? Have you heard of ShotDeck?
I think I did through the you used it with our teenagers, didn't you?
I possibly did. Yeah. Where you can just sort of grab steals from other movies, and it's just, I think it's great because then you can not only communicate tone and energy, but also you can get the producers to start drawing parallels in a way to other shows. Be like, okay, it's going to be like this, or like, I like that show, and you've used images from it.
You can search by like color and object and things like that, which is really cool.
Yeah, rather than type in.
I need to use that more.
Yeah, rather than type in like
Google or
Google, or even rather than type like the name of the film, you literally just type like knife, and you'll see like every shot of a knife from movies that are on there, which is like
like
super
a location
handy. By location as well. So super cool. Did you get feedback on the pitch deck? Was there like back and forth on that? Were they like, could you make it more like this, or did it feel like you sort of had one shot to show them the pitch deck and the script?
It's often supplementary, I would say. So it's not like we would get notes on the look of it or anything. It would definitely be the content. So often in a pitch deck, I mean, I could talk what should go in a pitch deck.
Yes, please. That'd be great.
Useful, so you're sort of setting up the world of the show. You're sort of setting up the tone. Is it a thriller? Is it comedy? Like visually how it would look, and that's why images are really helpful. And the format as well, how many episodes you think it will be, how long the episodes will be, that's often dictated by the channel anyway. For BBC Three with Domino Day, their dramas are all 45 minutes, so we couldn't say an hour. They don't have the slot. And then you'll go through the characters and sort of their backstory a little bit, and maybe their sort of arc over the series, what they sort of go through, what they learn, how do they start, where do they end up, and then you might just do a series overview. So you're not getting bogged down into what happens in each episode, but you're given a gist of what happens. Some pitch decks, though, will do it by episode. It depends on maybe the channel and maybe the writer's process as well.
Okay, gotcha.
And did you, for Domino Day, did you have to do another section about like the rules of the world, because it was a supernatural sort? Yeah.
Yeah, that was very important. And, you know, we had to dedicate some time in the room to explore that as well. And, you know, that was constantly evolving as we were, even in post, you know, like it's like, oh, that rule, maybe we can edit it in this way to sort of make it a bit more like this. So it was constantly evolving.
That's really cool. And did you have a big bank of kind of references and lore that you were working with as well?
Yeah, so I understood genre conventions of a sort of supernatural drama. Like, you know, I grew up with Buffy, I grew up with True Blood, Being Human, all of those shows. So I would often reference that, but then like, this is my take on it, you know. You know, a vampiric witch, for instance, is a, you know, there's a witch called a Lamia, which I think Michelle Pfeiffer in Stardust is the only Lamia representation ever.
Yeah, I was about to say that sounds like Stardust one. Yeah, that's super cool. So you said that you watched like so much stuff as research, right? Was that fun? Is that a fun part of the writing process? Would you say, like, do you ever try and avoid stuff because you're worried about being similar, or would you just think the more you can watch, just the better overall for the project?
I'm with the latter, because if someone brings up a reference in a meeting, I can then try to defend why my idea is slightly different. There are some writers that don't want to be swayed by watching other stuff, and then you might be, but that is similar. You should watch it. So yeah, I think it depends on the writer, but me personally, I like to watch stuff.
Yeah.
You also, sorry, Dan. You also mentioned that you yourself were like, the idea came from you, and you were an inspiration for the show as well, which I think is really interesting, because the show's grounded in reality, but it is also a supernatural thing. And how was that process of like mapping yourself onto a character that is a witch, basically?
I mean, I can be like, I'm quite spiritual in which, like, you know, I have my crystals around my desk and stuff. So I think it was more the journey that Domino goes through was a journey I sort of went through in my writing of, like, you know, building confidence, finding your voice. That's essentially the journey she goes through, and the sort of supernatural stuff is, you know, it's there, but it's not just about that. So that was key. Like, you know, I was in that main character. And also, you know, there is a very real world dating element. As someone that has been on apps and has dated a lot, it was my commentary on that as well. So
were you crowdsourcing bad dates from friends, being like, what's the worst thing that's happened to you on a date?
Oh, it's and it's a line of dialogue that is in episode 2, and I remember people were like, did people actually say this? I was like, yes. You're the prettiest black girl in here. I definitely got that.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
And my skin is like caramel. Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah, there's that scene as well in like episode 1 where he sort of comments about like loving her skin, and you're not sure. You're like, is he being nice, or is it just like fetishization? It just sort of makes you a bit icky. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just like,
was really into that first scene, the first date, because me and Dan were watching it, and we were like, we think he's evil, but it's very subtle, like these like microaggressions, and then also talking about the wine, like he's trying to show off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like an outright really obvious evil villainous character, but you recognize him from the real world, definitely.
Yeah.
Ellen was trying to work out if 2014 was a classy bottle or not, and we were having a debate. And I was like, well, it's 12 years old, but I mean, there's definitely older bottles around, so...
Yeah.
But he thinks it's good, so maybe it's trash.
Yeah. He's probably lying.
Yeah. Was that a fun bit of the like the writers' room? You mentioned there was 2 other writers on the show?
Yes.
Were you all just throwing in sort of those experiences?
Yeah, we absolutely were.
Yeah.
And a lot of our experiences found their way into episodes.
Yeah. How was that process of picking your writers? Like, did it feel like a lot of power? Did you want to pick writers? I actually don't know who the other writers were, but did you want to go for people that had more experience, or does that make it more intimidating in a way? Or like, how did you find the right level of writers?
So we did have a writer switcheroo because one of my writers had her own show greenlit, which was like the best news for her. So she had to leave after a few drafts. But yeah, I picked writers that connected to both the real world and the supernatural. That was super important. And I picked writers that I had worked with in other writers' rooms. But we did do, a call out. People sent samples, and I had a few Zoom meetings with other writers and stuff. So we did do quite a few meetings before we picked the ones that we went with. So, yeah.
And from a writer's point of view, so like the writer that you would have been speaking to, what do you kind of need to prove in that meeting to be invited to write on the show? Like what do you need to show about yourself? And
that you've really read that pilot. Some writers have not even read a pilot sometimes. It's like it's an interview, and just how you sort of connect to the characters, and any sort of, because the pilot should like sort of leave on a cliffhanger, not a like a really like big, like deep cliff, but you need to have like ideas or intrigue about where it's going.
Opening
and quite often
the rest of the season.
So I like hearing where a writer would take it themselves, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. And
like, yes, that's what I was thinking as well.
A bit of that, but also I'm like reading their vibe and energy, and they don't have to be the most confident person. I don't expect people to constantly be talking in rooms or anything, but do they seem like they're collaborative? I think that's one of the key senses that I try to read in a person. Yeah,
that must be a bigger thing as well. Like, the bigger the room gets, the more the personalities of the people becomes, I suppose, an issue in a way. Like, if you end up hiring like 3 or 4 really loud or strong personalities, then they might completely drown out people that are maybe less vocal but have brilliant ideas. So have you thought about much? Have you seen writers' rooms that go wrong, that just sort of have ill balances of personalities, would you say?
Absolutely. There's definitely been some rooms that were unbalanced, and it's really down to the showrunner to make sure that everyone feels heard, but doing it in a way where it's not, right, your turn. I've been in some rooms where the script editor might be noting what happens in the meeting, but what each person says has been noted. I've been in a room like that, and you'll get the notes at the end of the day, and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't said anything for 3 pages. And I was like, I don't like that. I don't like a room that feels competitive. And there's definitely been rooms that have felt like that, which I never understand when everyone is getting their episode, It's not like we're fighting over one episode, and it's meant to be a collaboration. We're meant to be helping each other. But I've done some rooms where it has been that, and it's like a really good energy. And you often become friends with people in that room, and lifelong collaborators.
And what's your advice if you do find yourself in a bit of a competitive room, or a room you're not really vibing with?
Yes, it's tricky, because even like now, after having a show and stuff, you could still, like, that imposter syndrome creeps in, So I think it's just focusing on the showrunner, to be honest. It's their show, and just trying to keep up with the pace, because some rooms can go at a fast pace, especially if they're in 2 weeks and there's a lot to do, and just almost thinking about things overnight as well, like giving yourself that space out of the room to sort of catch up with some thinking. So that would be my advice.
Yeah. And then how long does each writer have to turn over the first draft of their episode? And are you
Yes,
guys in
it's
regular communication during that process?
Yeah, you'll be in regular communication with the script editor and story producer. Sometimes you could talk to the other writer, but it's useful to have all the conversations happening through one person, and then they've got their eye across everything. Or I've been in some rooms where, say, if I'm doing something in my episode, I might tell the writer after me, like, this is what I'm doing, maybe see if you can pay that off or something. But it's constantly evolving through the drafting process, but you're often given a month to write the first draft.
Okay.
Sometimes 3 weeks, it could be less than that, depends on the schedule, but I often write quite fast and then I put it down, try and focus on something else, then I return to it, read through it, edit.
Yeah.
And I make sure I do all of that before the deadline.
And when you say concentrate on something else, do you find it helpful to go and work on and write something else, or do you find it better to metaphorically go to Mallorca and put your feet up? But do you know what I mean? And just like clear your mind completely so that you come fresh, like, to it.
I often work on something else because in the UK particularly, you will have several projects running at the same time. Less so in America. I think you often in TV just focus on one project, especially if it's greenlit. You cannot work on anything else. So I would just water my other babies.
Oh, that's a nice way to put it.
Did you, with developing a TV show, obviously you have quite a lot of characters in TV. Could you talk about finding the balance of when you have enough characters? Is that something you ever think about? Or is it, do you ever feel like there's characters missing? Because I feel like it's almost like that how long is a piece of string thing. In film, you might have a character and an antagonist and then several characters that surround each of those entities per se. But like with TV, when it's a bigger world, how do you know when you have the right balance or the right amount?
I think it's only through writing it and then reading it.
Yeah.
I mean, Domino Day, we did struggle with a lot of characters because we knew that the Coven needed to have a few characters that they felt like a threat to Domino. We couldn't just have 2 people in the Coven, you know. So we were like, okay, 4. We have 4 people in the Coven. And, there were versions where they all had their stories, like their separate stories. And then once we read scripts, Domino's story was then getting lost. So we had to, just a couple of the Coven characters had deep stories, and then the other 2 were sort of there for flavor. Say. I mean, they still had things in their characters. We tried to find scenes, but they didn't have massive storylines. It is a balancing act, and you can only work it out through the writing of it, I would say. Yeah.
No, amazing. And then as you move into production, was that super scary? Was it like handing over and be like, okay, now over to you guys? Or were you heavily involved throughout the filming process as well?
So yes, I was heavily involved, even through pre-production, because I pushed to be an exec producer as well. So I could have, a say on the cast or who we hired as HODs and stuff like that. So I was on set a lot as well. I was part of selecting the directors and all of that. And it was fair. I mean, I felt exhausted and it was scary, but it was also exciting because I'd lived in this world in my head for so many years. And then we were suddenly on a set, and Domino's bedroom that had been a scene in my mind was there. Like, even all the little details I wrote in my scripts were suddenly, there are people that are recreating that on the set. So, it was really special. And then, in post as well, I wasn't in the edit every day, but I would come to watch takes, and then we would give notes, me and the other execs. Then we would get like takes ready for the BBC to watch. It was very full on for the entire year of 2023.
Yeah.
Because that's quite a unique opportunity, or a really nice opportunity, to be able to be involved in the whole duration of it. How do you find as a writer when you don't have that privilege, when you kind of just have to hand over the script and then you see the final product? Like, how does that compare?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, just imagine when it's someone else's show as well, you've written your episode. I just almost imagine, just watching it through your fingers, being like, what have they done with it? Do you know what I mean? Just, not because it's bad, but because like just the nervousness, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And having that distance. And I imagine a lot of time can elapse. Like, how long was it between being in the writer's room for like, Gangs of London or was it Kiss Me First?
Kiss Me First, yeah.
Between that and then seeing the finished episode, was that a long gap?
Yeah, at least 2 years, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very long TV.
And what's it like
it takes a while.
watching that after 2 years? Do you have like the new ideas come into your head and you're like, I should have done?
Yeah, or do you ever
I
read a
try
line
not
of
to.
hear a line of dialogue and you're like, oh, who wrote that?
That has happened sometimes, yeah. But no, it often exceeds my expectations.
Oh, that's
weirdly.
really good.
And yeah,
It sounds like you have quite a healthy approach to it of like, that's done now. I've done that project and it's come out this way, and now I do a different one.
Yeah. You can only control what you can control.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Was there any situations during Domino Day where you were like, we've gotten this element wrong, we need to rewrite as we're shooting?
Yeah.
And
we
how
had
was that?
a lot of that. Often it's dialogue. It might sound, because we did a read through, but it was only for the first 3 episodes.
Sure.
So it was more block 2, which was still being written during block 1 as well. Like, we had drafts, but we were, rushing to get the scripts ready. And sometimes you'd be on set and the director will always do I've forgotten the phrase, but they'll go through the scene they're about to shoot. The actors will read out the lines. And sometimes you're like, oh, that actor's struggling with that line. It's not flowing how I thought it would. And you'll just make tweaks. But the script supervisor is crucial here. If I wasn't on set, she would text me, they want to change this line to that. I would either say yes or no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen it with some actors before, and I don't even know what it is exactly, but sometimes I'll read lines in a script and just be like, there's no way any actor can say this. This is just so on the nose. It's so cheesy, or it's such like a movie line, if you know what I mean. It's such, but then you see like a certain actor deliver it and you're like, oh my God, I can write anything. I can write absolutely anything. And this person is just going to turn it into gold. I don't know how they're doing it. Yeah. But that is very often not the case. And actually, like, I think you have to be mindful that a lot of actors can't say certain lines. It just doesn't flow for them, or it doesn't flow for their character and the way they're delivering it. And it's always such a balance. So did you get to, I suppose, allow, once you'd casted it, could how the actors were performing the characters, did that feed into that second block of scripts?
Absolutely. And there were some actors that we were like, oh, less words for him. He's more menacing. Because there's a character in episodes 2 and 3, and just through casting him, we were like, yeah, he's more menacing with less words.
Yeah.
So, we'd cut lines of dialogue.
Yeah. And that's a big part of it as well. Yeah. Sometimes saying less is even more powerful in a way. Have you ever had one of those moments, I don't know about you, where you're on set and you're like, I wrote these words and these people are just saying them out loud, and they're just, it's like, it's crazy. I was just sitting at home going, blah, 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 blah. I could have written anything and they're just saying it, It's sort of so
it's
surreal.
Always bizarre.
Yeah.
No matter how many years I'm in the industry, just being on the set, I'm always like, oh wow, this is crazy.
Yeah. It's such like a strange and powerful world of of make believe, and we sort of, I don't know, it's sort of like a childish enjoyment in a way, because it's like you really are just like conjuring worlds and stuff, I don't know how much can you talk about, obviously since this show, I know you're sort of developing something with Netflix. How much detail can you go into, if any, or any sort of developments with other projects, and how that's compared?
Yeah, I can't go into what the projects are about.
Of course.
But yes, I was fortunate to write quite a few pilots last year. I think I spent most of last year just writing pilots and building new original ideas. And a couple of them are out now with broadcasters. And then the Netflix one, they have an in-house development team, which is sort of new. The show Supercell has come out of that sort of setup. And we've been working on an idea for the past year or so. And they're going to get me to write an episode 2 as well, which is very rare that you get to write 2 episodes. Sky do it. I think Amazon do it as well sometimes. But yeah, it's very rare that you'll have 2 episodes to like sell your show.
Yeah. Well, do you know what the intention with that is? Is it suspicion? Are they like, they did pretty good on that first episode. Can they do it again? You know, or like
maybe it's a bit of that. I think it's they really want to see, because a pilot will often, and I got this with my pilot for Netflix. It's like, where does it go after this? And there's like curiosity. So give me another episode and I will show you. Where it goes. So I think that's often the case.
Like, we could pay for the whole show, or I pay this other amount of money and then I'll just find out I get to keep reading episode 2. I just like they're becoming their personal writing library in a way.
I think I would always be someone asking for episode 2 because I always read pilots and I'm like, I need to know.
Yeah, literally, that's what I'm thinking. Just like, exactly. I want to read the next episode tomorrow before I go to bed.
And that's the sign of a good pilot, isn't it?
100%, 100%. And then next thing you know, it's all commissioned and greenlit and stuff. Could you talk just a little bit about your ideas and where do you look for ideas? And also, since Domino Day releasing, do you feel the pressure to deliver like something similar to that, like to build on the voice you built within that show, or is that just instinctively what you want to do, or have you wanted to do something different? Where do you find your ideas and how have you shaped them post Domino Day?
I often look to my own life, whether it's like family relationships or something, and often it's taste. So I like supernatural. I'm not developing any supernatural ideas at the moment. I think that's probably because of the industry and where it's at. It's a little bit cautious with big budgets and stuff. So and you know, I did a lot with Domino Day. It'd have to feel quite different to that, I believe, for me to get excited about it. But I generate ideas through my own life, and just sitting in what ifs sometimes. Like a what if exercise is really good. It's like, you know, this has happened in my life, but what if this one thing happened, and then sort of go down that road. Sometimes it's based on things going on in the news or a story that a friend has told me, and if I start to see images and my mind is sparking, I'm like, oh, there's something in that. Sometimes it comes from IP. A lot of the times, most recently, a lot of ideas are coming from IP, like books or comics, video games. They can come from many, many places. But I think you're always trying to, you can write the idea, but eventually you need to sell it. And to sell it, you sort of need to convince that commissioner or that producer why you are the writer to write this. So I often find finding some kind of emotional link to it helps. Like you're not a murderer. If it's a story about a murderer, you can say, I'm not a murderer, but this character did this, and like this sort of happened in my life, and I want to explore that. And you know, so I'm always finding links, I think, in things.
And you mentioned with the opening of Domino Day, like such a strong kind of visual moment or sort of string of events. Do you find that helps as well, sort of attaching a very strong image to it helps to sell it or sort of develop the idea?
Absolutely. I mean, TV is a visual medium. So in my scripts, I'm very, and maybe this is where my directing passions do feed in a bit, because I'm thinking about how it looks, and I'm also thinking about how it feels when it's looked at. So the order of information, you know, starting up close on something, make an audience think, okay, what is that? What does it mean? And then you sort of come out a bit and you get more information, and that really affects the audience, and it affects the read as well. I like to write in that way. Some writers will just explain up top the twists. And I'm like, no, write the twist where it is.
Yeah.
You know? And then emotionally that reader, and then hopefully that viewer, if it's made, feels that twist, you know? So yeah.
And what's your process of figuring out those twists, like those complicated plot points, and also where things change direction?
Yeah, I guess I just really enjoy mystery and playing with an audience in general. So there is an enjoyment in like coming up with twists. And then I guess like if I know what twist I want to do, I sort of work back from that. I'm like, okay, what can I sort of hint at here? And yeah, I often work backwards, and sometimes it's a pacing thing where, you know, especially in a pilot, if it's an hour long, in the middle it could feel a bit slow. So it's like you need something that changes the course of direction in the audience's mind somehow. So often it can be like I don't know how to describe that, but yeah, just a pacing thing. Yeah.
And also thinking about how the audience are experiencing it. You've mentioned,
Are you always trying to like find ways to surprise audiences? Like, is it with big moments, or do you try and do it on a scene by scene basis as well with sort of subversion?
Ooh, good question. I often think about the big moments, but I do think about how you come into a scene and where everyone is at by the time they leave that scene. And often you can start later than you originally write. But it's like I sometimes overwrite, and then I look at it and I'm like, okay, maybe it would be good if maybe I move that to later in the scene. What does that do? You know, so I do like playing around with a scene, and I often write to music as well. And
nice.
Music sort of helps give a rhythm, which, you know, you won't necessarily get that track in if it was ever made. Although there were some songs in Domino Day that when I explained I wrote it to this song, we actually went out and got the rights. So that was
amazing.
Really great. I was super happy about that. So, but, you know, sometimes I'm just writing to existing TV or film soundtracks. You know, it's a sort of a mood in the music that I'm like, this is the sort of mood I want this scene to be. And that often helps me.
Yeah, super. So you build a playlist. Do you do that for each project? Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
no, I
do.
I love doing that as well. It's like I find it so useful to then like immerse yourself in that world. What are your other sort of methods to lock in and sort of be productive? Because obviously you're managing your own time, I imagine, a lot. If it's not a writer's room situation, when you're back home writing, and suddenly the laundry needs doing, or you know, that shelf needs putting up as well. Like, what are your methods to stay focused?
I try to have working hours. So a general rule is be at my laptop by 10. And it depends on what I'm doing that day. If it's a lot of reading, then I might not stay at my desk. I might sit on the sofa, you know. And it depends on the deadlines as well. If I have a deadline for the next week, and I will just focus on probably that project, do a bit every day, have my lunch breaks. And music again will help if I feel like I'm procrastinating a little bit. Sometimes I get out the house though. I like to just be around people, and I often do that when I'm more generating ideas, I find. Like yesterday I was in a cafe and I was just coming up with some ideas post a meeting I had, and it was just nice to just like have my coffee and look around and watch people while I wrote stuff down.
I love that. When you're building characters for your TV shows and their arcs, are you writing it with like series 2 in mind? Like, are you cautious about not taking a character too far because you need to give them room to go, or do you just think make the best first series you can, or should a character's arc feel more contained, do you think, in a TV show because they need to have more consistency through the series?
Good question. I think it's a bit of both. You need that arc for season 1, but you also, through that character experience in that arc, it has initiated some other things that you then need to sort of take into season 2. So you need to do both in a way, because most commissioners at the moment want returnable series as well.
Sure.
So yeah, you need to do both. You need the story to feel like you're resolving some things by the end of season 1, but there are still some other questions that has come out of this resolution that they then need to deal with in season 2. So yeah. It's very tricky, like the whole plotting of it.
Yeah, tough balancing act. I think, there's so many layers and elements, and they've got to all sort of intersect as well, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
So Lauren, coming towards the end of the podcast, we have a couple of questions that we ask all our guests, which is, what were you up to in your teenage years that turn out to be super useful for what you do now? And what advice would you give to that teenage version of you?
So in my teenage years, I was watching lots of films on repeat as well. And I think... you can watch a film once or twice, but, when you watch it a 6th time, you're seeing that little detail you missed before. So I think just watching as many films as you can, and reading scripts as well. I think in my teenage years, well, once I got to uni and I understood there was such a thing as a script, I would just put into Google, like, my favourite film, see if I can find the pilot or the feature script and read it and just see how the language that they use sort of translated to the screen. And I would make short films as well. I had a camcorder and I'd go to the park with my friends and just but they were very like artsy and impressionistic.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't always a story.
A24 would have loved them.
You were ahead of your time.
So I was definitely soaking in story and just and feeling excited about learning about story in my teenage years. And then, the advice I would give to my teenage self is to do more of that and to maybe find like-minded people, because I did that with some friends, but I think sometimes just finding your tribe that really gets excited with you is so helpful. And I think that's why the YFA is great in that respect, because you're bringing all those teenagers together to get excited about storytelling. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Lauren, thank you so much for your time. Are we going to see a show that is both created, written and directed by Lauren Sequeira on the horizon, do you reckon?
Hopefully in the future, absolutely.
Amazing.
I'll start maybe with an episode,
yes,
and then work from there.
Perfect. Well, I can't wait. We're
we
very
can't wait for that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you. No worries.
The world of TV, and then it was amazing to hear it demystified.
Definitely, it's a very different beast to film.
For sure. I mean, it's bigger in every way. I think there used to be this thing where TV was like seen as like the cousin or like the the little sister or little brother of film, but I think certainly over the last 20 years that's completely changed, and it's such a premier way of telling a story in a way, because you've got more time to really go into depth with characters and their journey and their arcs and stuff. And just hearing about how that actually all comes together, I think was just super interesting. I loved it.
And I think it's a form, I mean, debate me if you disagree, that I think connects with audiences more and a lot more audiences, because it's more, I think, of a everyday, you watch it at home, you talk to people about what shows they're watching. I think that has a stronger kind of hold on audiences. So I think it's more of an everyday form, I think. If you understand what I'm saying. Film is still able definitely to connect with audiences, but I think more people watch TV shows than who watch films.
I mean, it stays in people's lives for a long time, doesn't it? It really does sort of like linger and stay in their brains. And I think, it's just...
And I love what Lauren was saying about how collaborative the structure of TV is, with all the different writers and the showrunners and the executives, and the sort of the different experiences you can have of that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think just the difference between running your own show and yeah, being part of someone else's, I just found super fascinating, super interesting. And also, like, you know, I was secondhand nervous for Lauren in a way, like, not that I needed to be, but just I can only imagine how exciting and scary in the best way possible it is to sort of take that step up and lead and helm your own show. But obviously it's a process that she'd gone through a few times with other people's, you know. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. And it was interesting hearing about her process as a writer, the way she kind of develops and like sparks and develops ideas and builds on that. And I really liked what she said about with plotting, how she works backwards. And I think that was a really useful sort of nugget of insight and advice.
100%. Ellen, we've got a question. This question's from Michelle, who's 16. Michelle says, I'm thinking about writing a TV show, but wonder if my time is better spent creating a short film. What are your thoughts, Ellen?
That's difficult because I think everyone always says when you're starting out, like, make a short film, like have something in your portfolio, just make something. And short film is the sort of quickest and not the easiest, but the most sort of straightforward option. I think I would think about your TV idea, and if it could work as a short film, just check that in with yourself first. But if you really want to go with the TV idea, I think you've had that idea for a reason, you're passionate about it, and sort of put some energy into that. And if you want to shoot some of that so you have it visually and you want to contribute to your portfolio, maybe an opening scene, what are the first 5 minutes, the opening of that. Lauren talked about Domino Day, and sort of she had a very strong opening to that show, and that opening sets up for the whole season and the series. So kind of thinking about like smaller moments from if you have a pilot episode that you could shoot. Yeah. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, exactly. I think don't choose one or the other. I think if you know that TV is something of interest to you down the line, the only way you're going to get good at it is by writing it. I think the reality is at your age, you're not going to get commissioned to write a TV show, whereas a short film you could actually get made. So I think if you do want to do TV shows, try and find the way that you can do both. Could you make your short film related to the TV show? Could it actually just be a slightly shorter short film, so you go through the process of making something and you learn from that while spending the rest of your time writing a TV show? I think where possible, you know, the more time you can throw at this, the better in a way.
Yeah. And I think with the writing as well, I was talking a bit more about like shooting it for a portfolio, but with writing, I think give it the time, and a TV show can be a really good place to flesh out characters, flesh out stories. And I don't think it's ever a bad thing if you're expanding ideas.
Yeah, no, 100%. So yeah, keep creating. Best of luck. And generally speaking, it doesn't matter who you are, it's your 10th script that's really good that you might be able to get something from. So if you look at between you and success is writing 10 complete scripts, maybe even more, then that's the way I'd look at it. So you've got to get through all the not bad, but all the iterative ones to get to being a really good writer. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
So start getting through those now. And then by the time you're in your early 20s, you'll be on script 10 or whatever.
Yeah. Well, thank you again to Lauren for
Absolutely.
A really insightful episode. And thank you to you, Dan.
Thank you to you, Ellen. What a joy, as always. Don't forget to send us your questions to podcast@youngfilmacademy.co.uk and we'll try to answer them on a relevant future episode. See you guys soon.